Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into Honkai Star Rail and talking all about the characters. As you probably know, this live service game has a huge cast of heroes, with new ones constantly being added through the gacha system. But here's the thing, while some characters absolutely shine in most team compositions, others? Not so much. It all comes down to luck and your wallet. You might get lucky with a 5-star pull, or you might have to grind a bit to get the perfect squad. Either way, you can always aim for the best by focusing on specific banners during the warps. Now, I know the grind can be a bit intense, but that's part of the fun, right? It's all about finding that perfect character synergy for your team, whether you're pulling for the meta-defining powerhouses or just having fun with your personal favorites. Of course, the gacha system can feel a bit like a gamble, but that's what makes getting that top-tier hero all the more satisfying. So, if you're aiming for those S-tier characters, just remember, keep your eyes on the banners and don't get discouraged by a few unlucky pulls. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Honkai Star Rail. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Trailblazer and Arlan. Alright, let's dive into the world of Honkai Star Rail and talk about some of the characters who might not be at the top of the tier list but are still pretty fun to play with. We're talking about C-tier characters today, and while they may not be the absolute best, they can still hold their ground in certain situations. Let's kick things off with the physical Trailblazer. Now, the physical Trailblazer is one of those characters who's decent in both single target and AoE damage, making them a reliable pick for a variety of situations. They can buff themselves offensively and even heal the party using their technique, which adds a nice little supportive edge. But here's the thing, when it comes to dealing physical damage, there are other characters who do it just a bit better. If you're looking for sheer damage output, you might want to look elsewhere. But hey, the Trailblazer is still a solid pick if you enjoy that balance of offense and support. Next up, we've got Arlan. Arlan's got a bit of a wild playstyle. The more HP he sacrifices, the more damage he dishes out. It's a high risk, high reward kind of deal. If his HP is low enough, he can even heal himself after defeating an enemy, making him a bit of a glass cannon. While that sounds pretty exciting, the truth is that most other DPS characters can pull off similar damage without having to play so dangerously. It's a cool mechanic, but it might not always be the most reliable in long battles. If you like the thrill of playing close to the edge though, Arlan can be a lot of fun. Even though these characters might not be the cream of the crop, they've got their own unique charms. The physical Trailblazer brings a bit of versatility with their buffs and healing, while Arlan definitely stands out with that daring playstyle. If you're in the mood to experiment and try something a bit different, they can definitely add some flavor to your team. Just don't expect them to carry you through every battle. They need a little more strategy and setup to really shine. But hey, that's what's great about Honkai Star Rail. Every character has something cool going on, even if they're not all at the top of the tier list. Whether you're in it for the strategy, the character quirks, or just having fun, these C-tier characters can still bring something special to the table. So, give them a shot if you're looking for a bit of variety in your roster. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Natasha, March 7th with Trailblazer Fire, Hook, Serval, Yanking, Yukong, Chunique, Yukong, Misha, Luca, Sampo, Danheng, and Sushang. Let's talk about some of the unsung heroes of Honkai Star Rail, those trusty B-tier characters that might not make the headlines but still pack a punch when it counts. These characters are solid picks, and while they might not be the best, they're definitely worth considering for your team. So, let's dive into what makes them tick. First up, we have Natasha, the healer you can always rely on. Her main job is to keep your team alive, and she does that very well. She can heal a single ally and even dispel debuffs with her skill. But the real magic happens with her ultimate. She can heal the whole party, which is a game changer when your team is in trouble. If you're looking for reliable support, Natasha's definitely got your back. Then, there's March 7th, and this girl's a shield specialist. If your team's taking hits from every direction, she's the one to step up. March 7th can throw up shields to protect your allies and has an ultimate that freezes all enemies. Seriously, in simulated universe where the enemies can get relentless, her ability to freeze them all can be a lifesaver. If you're looking for a character that can take the hits, then Trailblazer Fire is the one you want. Not only does she taunt enemies and draw their attention, but she also reduces the incoming damage. Her shields and defensive buffs keep your team nice and sturdy, making her the perfect frontliner to absorb all the blows. On the other hand, if you're more into dealing out the damage, Hook is a fun character to have around. She's a DPS focused on single target destruction. What's cool about her is her ability to inflict burn with her skill, which means the enemy will be taking damage over time. And when you pop her ultimate, she speeds up her turn and acts sooner, perfect for finishing off those pesky enemies before they can react. Now, let's talk about Serval. She's all about AoE damage, and if you're up against a group of enemies, she's your go-to girl. Her ability to apply shock DOTs is a game changer, and when you use her ultimate, she can extend those DOTs, meaning more damage over time. Serval excels in scenarios where you need to hit multiple enemies at once. For all you single target fans, Young King is a top contender. He can buff himself up with offensive boosts, allowing him to deal a ton of damage. The trick with Young King though is to avoid taking damage yourself, as it messes with those buffs. He can be a bit tricky when facing a lot of enemies, but put him up against a single foe and he'll shine. Next up is Yukong, a support character who's also got some serious offensive capabilities. She focuses on speed tuning and spamming her ultimate to keep up the DPS. She can buff 80k cent, crit rate and crit DMG, helping your team dish out some serious damage. Plus, she can hold her own and contribute to taking down enemies when needed. Finally, we have Misha, another DPS character whose ultimate becomes stronger as you consume skill points. While Misha is fantastic at taking down single target enemies, she struggles when there are multiple foes due to her ultimate's bounce property. But if you're focusing on one tough enemy, Misha's got the firepower to do some serious damage. There you have it. These B tier characters might not have the same spotlight as their higher tier counterparts, but they sure know how to contribute to the team. Whether you need healing, shielding, AoE damage, or single target nuking, these characters have something special to offer. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Clara, Himeko, Gepard, Bailu, Guinaifen, Welt, Chinque, Herta, and Shuei. Alright, so let's dive into the wonderful world of Honkai Star Rail and talk about some of the top tier characters who are totally rocking the game. These are the A tier characters that are absolute game changers. Not quite S tier, but hey, they're still very much the real deal. Whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned veteran, these characters will make your team shine. First up, we've got Clara. Now, Clara's not your typical tank. She's a beast when it comes to taking hits, and what's even cooler, she can counterattack with style. She's got this neat trick where she reduces the damage she takes, and if that wasn't enough, she can even remove debuffs from herself. But here's the real kicker, her ultimate buffs her counterattack damage, making it hit harder. And get this, she can counterattack when your allies are attacked too. Talk about a lifesaver, right? Next, let's talk about Himeko. This fiery lady is all about crowd control, and trust me, you want her around when you're up against mobs. Her ability to target multiple enemies and follow up with extra attacks makes her a crowd's worst nightmare. Perfect for those pure fiction or Calyx farming sessions. If you've got a bunch of enemies to deal with, Himeko is your go-to gal for clearing them out fast. Now, let's bring in Gepard. This guy is all about defense. He's a tank through and through and can soak up enemy hits like it's nothing. But it's not just about taking hits. Gepard can provide a shield to his allies, keeping them safe from harm. Plus, his skill can freeze enemies in place, giving you a nice advantage during those heated battles. And if that wasn't enough, he can even restore his energy after a knockdown. Pretty solid, right? Speaking of support, Bailu's got your back when it comes to healing. This healer can restore a massive amount of HP and even revive downed party members. Seriously, if you're diving into more difficult content like Forgotten Hall or high-level bosses, Bailu is your best friend. She's a lifeline for survivability, ensuring your team stays in the fight for as long as possible. Let's switch gears a bit and talk about Guinaifen. This gal is a debuffer and she specializes in AoE burn DOTs. She's fantastic at inflicting continuous damage over time, and the cherry on top is her ability to make enemies take even more damage while they're burning. If you're looking to melt down some tough enemies, Guinaifen is definitely someone you want on your team. And then there's Welt. If you're a fan of slowing enemies down and delaying their turns, Welt's your man. His ultimate does exactly that, slows enemies and messes with their turn order. But the fun doesn't stop there. He can increase the damage enemies take, and his ability to easily weakness break enemies who are weak to imaginary makes him a nightmare for those vulnerable targets. Moving on to Chinke, and let's be real here, this character's all about luck. Her DPS potential can be insane, but it really depends on how the tiles line up. When she gets those tiles matching, her damage output is through the roof, and she can dish out some serious AoE damage. Chinque is especially great for clearing content like Swarm Disaster, but outside of that, her damage might not always hit the mark. So yeah, she's a bit of a gamble, but when she's on fire, she's unstoppable. Last but not least, we've got Herta. This girl is the definition of AoE damage. She excels when it comes to wiping out waves of enemies, and her follow-up attacks just keep the damage rolling. Pure fiction and simulated universe are perfect places to let her shine. Sure, she might struggle a bit against elite bosses, but her AoE damage makes her a fantastic choice for content with lots of smaller enemies. If you need someone to clear the board quickly, Herta's your pick. And that's a wrap on some of the top A tier characters in Honkai Star Rail. They might not be the absolute best of the best, but they're definitely worth considering for your team. Each one brings us something unique to the table, whether it's healing, crowd control, or massive damage. So, which one's your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: Rapper, Dr. Ratio, Fugue, Trailblazer Imaginary, Gallagher, Silver Wolf, Jingyuan, Jinglu, Imbibita Lunai, Kafka, Blade, Silu, Jiaoqiu, Black Swan, Pila, Jade, Topaz, Argenti, March 7th Imaginary, Mose, Luoshicha, Asta, Lynx, and Hanya. Alright, let's dive straight into it. Today we're talking about the true powerhouses of Honkai Star Rail, the S tier characters that can carry your team to victory. These are the heroes that really shine when it comes to both raw damage and strategic support. So buckle up, because we're about to break down some seriously OP units. First off, let's talk about Dr. Ratio. This guy is a monster when it comes to single target damage. His follow-up attacks are where he really shines, especially when enemies are drenched in debuffs. The more debuffs on an enemy, the more follow-up attacks Dr. Ratio can unleash. It's like a chain reaction of pain for the enemies. What's not to love about that? Then there's Fugue. If you're looking for someone who can supercharge your team's damage with Super Break, Fugue is the one you want. Her unique passive boosts break efficiency, making her a game changer. Plus, her ultimate can bypass weakness type damage, which is super useful in a lot of tight spots. When it comes to breaking those tough enemies, Fugue's your girl. And of course, Trailblazer Imaginary deserves a shout out. This Harmony version of Trailblazer is all about buffing up your team's break effect, making Super Break damage hit harder than ever. If you've got a break effect team, this character is essential. They allow your team to dish out some of the most devastating damage in the game, making them an absolute must-have. Gallagher is up next, and let me tell you, this unit is pure sustained magic. He applies the Besotted debuff, and every time an ally attacks an enemy affected by it, their HP gets a nice little boost. If you're running a break effect team, Gallagher's healing is even better. His healing scales with break effect, so he's the perfect partner for all your toughest battles. Switching gears, let's chat about Rapper. This AoE DPS unit can cause chaos when she enters her seal form state, where her enhanced basic attacks can ignore enemy weaknesses. It's like having an AoE machine that doesn't care about the usual weaknesses. She just hits hard and fast, leaving enemies in the dust. Then we have Silver Wolf, a debuffer and elemental weakness queen. She can stack elemental weaknesses on enemies, making your other DPS units hit even harder. She's one of those characters that just opens up so many team composition possibilities. Throw in a couple of good DPS units and you'll see some massive damage numbers roll in. Jingyuan is a beast when it comes to multi-target damage. His lightning-based attacks tear through groups of enemies like they're nothing. His AoE damage is ridiculous, and on top of that, he's excellent at breaking the toughness bars of enemies weak to lightning. Put him in a lightning-based team and he's a total game changer. Lastly, let's talk about Jinglu, the queen of high damage, high risk strategies. Jinglu's enhanced state is insane. She sacrifices a bit of the party's HP to deal massive damage, and when you stack crit rate and crit DMG, she becomes a force to be reckoned with. With proper investment, she can carry your team through some of the toughest fights in the game. These S tier characters are absolutely lethal when used correctly. Whether you're looking to dish out insane damage, support your team with buffs and healing, or break through enemy defenses, these heroes have you covered. They're the best of the best, and if you're lucky enough to have them in your roster, get ready to dominate the battlefield. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Acheron, Firefly, Fake Xiao, Sunday, Ruin Mei, Robin, Sparkle the Hurter, Yunli, Aventurine, Lingsha, Bootpill, Fushuan, Bronya, Huohuo, Tingyun, and Trailblazer Ice. Let's get into some of the absolute powerhouses in Honkai Star Rail. These are the characters who are absolutely killing it in the S+ tier. We're talking about those units that just make everything easier when they're on your team. From overwhelming DPS to top-notch support, they've got it all. So buckle up and get ready for some fun, because these characters are here to turn the tide in any battle. First up, we've got Acheron. If you're looking for a Nihility DPS that can rain down AoE damage like no other, Acheron's your girl. Her ultimate can absolutely obliterate enemies, but to get the most out of her, you'll want to pair her with debuffers to unleash that devastating damage as soon as possible. She's a must-have if you want to see some serious numbers. Then there's Firefly, a break DPS who's practically built to destroy. With her speed and ability to deal massive break damage on weakness broken enemies, she's a game changer. Once she enters the complete combustion state, she can apply the fire weakness to enemies, making it so much easier to break through their defenses. Firefly is all about exploiting weaknesses, and trust me, she does it better than anyone. Fake Xiao is another insane DPS in the mix. She's a single target specialist who can dish out mind-blowing damage with her ultimate. What makes Fake Xiao so good is her ability to build up Aureus stacks through your allies' attacks, turning every hit into a potential game-changing move. If you're all about that high single target damage, Fake Xiao's the one you need in your corner. Now, let's talk about Sunday, who isn't just a DPS powerhouse but a fantastic support unit as well. She brings a ton of utility to the table, from seniority buffs to energy restoration and even turn advancement. What's really great about Sunday is that she works in pretty much every team composition, and her abilities work especially well with DPS units that rely on summons. So if you're looking for support that packs a punch, Sunday's got your back. If you're in need of buffs, Ruan Mei is the one to turn to. She can provide a huge range of buffs for your team: break efficiency, SPD, and even all-type RES pen. On top of that, she can deal bonus ice damage and delay enemy turns through weakness break. Ruin Mei isn't just about making your team stronger though, she's also great at keeping your enemies on their toes. Robin is an absolute gem when it comes to harmony characters. She can fit into pretty much any team and offer incredible support. Not only does she boost party-wide DMG and carrot DMG, but her ultimate also boosts 80k and grants extra turns to your allies. And if that wasn't enough, Robin deals extra damage to enemies that your allies have attacked. Talk about versatility, let's not forget the Hurter, an erudition DPS that can deal insane skill damage to all enemies. Her ultimate works wonders with other erudition units, and she can even generate energy from your allies' attacks. The Hurter is all about doing massive damage while keeping things efficient, and she can handle groups of enemies with ease. And finally, we have Sparkle. Now, Sparkle isn't just about dealing damage, she's got some serious utility up her sleeve. She can boost DMG through skill point consumption, advance allies in the turn order, and even recover skill points with her ultimate. Sparkle is the kind of unit who can keep things flowing smoothly while still helping your team rack up the damage. These characters are the cream of the crop in Honkai Star Rail, and if you've got them, you're in for some seriously epic gameplay. Whether you're looking for insane damage, top tier support, or just a bit of everything, these S+ tier units have you covered. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.